You do everything right. You avoid sugar. You stop drinking soda. You eat better than you used to. But when it's time for your blood test, your blood sugar is still high. If this has happened to you, you're not alone. Millions of people are dealing with this exact situation, and many end up believing the problem is simply a lack of willpower. But there's an important truth that very few people know. Sugar isn't always the main reason your blood glucose stays elevated. In fact, there are processes happening inside your body right now that can raise your blood sugar, even when you haven't eaten a single thing. And one of those processes takes place while you're asleep. That's why some people go to bed with their blood sugar under control, only to wake up with much higher glucose levels. It sounds surprising, but science already has a clear explanation for why this happens. Even more interesting, researchers have been studying several incredibly common kitchen ingredients because of the way they may influence these very mechanisms. We're not talking about miracle recipes. We're not talking about expensive supplements. We're talking about 3 everyday spices that may already be sitting in your kitchen right now. Throughout this video, you'll discover which one may help improve the way insulin works, which one may help fight one of blood sugar's biggest enemies, which one appears to support healthy liver function during the overnight hours, and why the combination of all 3 has attracted so much attention from researchers. But first, there's one important question we need to answer. If eating sugar isn't the only reason blood glucose goes up, then why does it happen? To understand this, imagine that every cell in your body is like a house. Inside each house is a place where glucose is welcomed. After all, glucose is your body's primary source of fuel. But there's one important detail. Glucose can't get inside on its own. It needs a key. That key is insulin. After you eat, your pancreas releases insulin. Insulin unlocks the doors to your cells. Glucose moves inside, and everything works the way it's supposed to. The problem begins when those doors gradually stop responding. Imagine trying to unlock a rusty old lock. The key is still there, but it no longer works the way it once did. This process is called insulin resistance. And that's exactly when glucose starts lingering in the bloodstream much longer than it should. But that's only part of the story. There's another major player involved. Your liver. Even in the middle of the night, while you're fast asleep, your liver continues producing glucose to make sure your brain has a steady supply of energy. In healthy individuals, this process is carefully regulated. But when insulin resistance develops, that balance can be disrupted. The liver may begin releasing more glucose than your body actually needs. The result? You wake up with high blood sugar, even though you haven't eaten anything for hours. There's also a third factor, and it's one that often goes completely unnoticed. Chronic inflammation. Not the kind of inflammation that causes obvious pain or swelling. We're talking about low-grade, silent inflammation. It interferes with the communication between insulin and your cells. Think of it like trying to have an important conversation in an extremely noisy room. The message is still being sent, but it's much harder for it to get through. Now, everything starts to make sense. Keeping your blood sugar under control isn't just about cutting back on sugar. It also involves helping your body respond better to insulin, reducing chronic inflammation, and supporting the healthy balance of glucose production by the liver. And that's exactly where the first ingredient comes in. First ingredient, cinnamon. When most people think about cinnamon, they assume there's only one kind. But that's actually a very common misconception. In practice, the 2 most common varieties of cinnamon are Cassia cinnamon and Ceylon cinnamon, often referred to as true cinnamon. At first glance, they look almost identical. Their aroma is very similar. Their flavor is too. But there's one important difference. Cassia cinnamon contains much higher levels of a natural compound called coumarin. For most people, consuming it occasionally isn't usually a problem. However, if you plan to use cinnamon regularly, Ceylon cinnamon is generally considered the better choice because it contains significantly less coumarin. Now here's the part that has captured scientists' attention. Research suggests that compounds found in Ceylon cinnamon may help improve the way our cells respond to insulin. Remember the rusty lock we talked about earlier? Think of cinnamon as helping that lock work more smoothly. As a result, glucose can move into the cells more efficiently, where it can be used for energy instead of remaining in the bloodstream. Some studies have also found that cinnamon may help reduce rapid spikes in blood sugar after carbohydrate-rich meals. Other research has observed modest improvements in fasting blood glucose in certain individuals when cinnamon is included as part of an overall healthy lifestyle. But there's an important point to remember. Cinnamon isn't a magic solution. By itself, it addresses only one piece of a much bigger puzzle. The next ingredient works through an entirely different mechanism. And most people miss out on much of its potential because of one incredibly simple mistake. You've probably used this spice countless times, but chances are you've never fully benefited from its most important active compound. You've probably heard someone say that turmeric is one of the healthiest foods in the world. Maybe you've even started adding it to rice, soups, smoothies, or juices. But there's one detail that almost nobody talks about. And because of it, millions of people consume turmeric every day without receiving many of the benefits it has the potential to offer. The secret lies in a compound called curcumin that's the substance that has scientists so interested. In fact, most scientific studies aren't really evaluating turmeric as a spice. They're investigating curcumin, the primary bioactive compound naturally found in turmeric. Curcumin has been extensively studied for its antioxidant properties, its anti-inflammatory effects, and its potential role in supporting metabolic health. So far, that sounds pretty impressive. But there's one major obstacle. Our bodies absorb curcumin very poorly. Imagine buying an incredibly valuable gift. You carefully load it onto a delivery truck, but the truck never reaches its destination. That's essentially what happens with curcumin. A large portion passes through the digestive system and is eliminated before it ever reaches the bloodstream. In other words, you could eat turmeric every single day and still absorb only a small fraction of what it has to offer. That's where another common kitchen ingredient comes in: black pepper. It contains a natural compound called piperine, and that single compound completely changed the way researchers began using curcumin in scientific studies. Numerous studies have shown that piperine slows down the body's breakdown and elimination of curcumin. In practical terms, much more curcumin is able to reach the bloodstream. That's exactly why many curcumin supplements sold today are already formulated with black pepper extract. It's a simple detail, but it makes an enormous difference. And once curcumin finally reaches your cells, it begins working in an area where many people don't even realize the real problem exists, because that's where it encounters one of the biggest enemies of healthy blood sugar control. When we think about inflammation, we usually picture an injury, a painful joint, a cut, or an infection. But there's another kind of inflammation, a much quieter one. It doesn't hurt. You can't see it. It doesn't cause a fever, and yet it can remain active inside the body for years. This type of chronic, low-grade inflammation directly interferes with the way insulin works. Remember the rusty lock we talked about earlier? Inflammation gradually makes that lock harder and harder to open. The result? Even if your body is producing enough insulin, your cells respond less and less effectively. Meanwhile, glucose continues circulating through the bloodstream. That's why reducing chronic inflammation has become such an important focus in metabolic health research. Numerous studies suggest that curcumin may help lower several key inflammatory markers within the body. When that happens, communication between insulin and your cells may become more efficient. But curcumin's potential benefits don't stop there. There's another organ that can suffer when blood sugar remains elevated for long periods of time: the pancreas. This is where the specialized cells responsible for producing insulin are located. Over the years, constantly elevated glucose levels and oxidative stress can place tremendous strain on these insulin-producing cells. Some research suggests that curcumin's antioxidant properties may help protect these cells from oxidative damage. That doesn't mean it regenerates the pancreas, and it certainly doesn't mean it cures diabetes. But helping preserve the function of these cells may be an important part of a broader strategy for maintaining long-term metabolic health. Another interesting finding from scientific research is that curcumin may also help improve the way body tissues utilize glucose. In practical terms, more glucose can be used to produce energy, and less remains circulating in the bloodstream. One study published in the journal Diabetes Care attracted significant attention within the scientific community. Over a period of 9 months, individuals with prediabetes who received curcumin experienced a substantially lower progression to type 2 diabetes compared with those who received a placebo. Those findings generated even greater scientific interest in curcumin as a potential component of diabetes prevention strategies, always alongside healthy eating habits, regular physical activity, and appropriate medical care. Notice how curcumin works in a completely different way from cinnamon. Cinnamon primarily helps improve the body's response to insulin. Turmeric, through its active compound curcumin, focuses more on inflammation and oxidative stress. These are different biological pathways, and that's precisely why they may complement one another. But we're still missing the third ingredient, and it works during a time of day when most people assume their bodies are simply resting. In reality, that's when your body quietly gets to work. You're about to discover why so many people wake up with higher blood sugar, even though they haven't eaten a single bite all night. Have you ever checked your blood sugar first thing in the morning, only to find that it was higher than it was before you went to bed? If so, you've probably asked yourself the same question that thousands of other people ask. How is that even possible if I haven't eaten anything all night? The answer lies in an organ that works around the clock: your liver. While you're sleeping, your brain never stops working. Your heart never stops beating. Your lungs never stop breathing. All of those vital functions require a constant supply of energy. To provide that energy, your liver steadily releases small amounts of glucose into your bloodstream. This process is completely normal. In fact, it's essential for survival. The problem begins when this finely tuned system falls out of balance. In people with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes, the liver may begin producing and releasing far more glucose than the body actually needs. Even when there's already plenty of glucose circulating in the bloodstream, the liver continues releasing more. And that's exactly why so many people wake up with elevated blood sugar levels. This phenomenon even has its own name, that it's called the dawn phenomenon. And this is precisely where ginger has captured the attention of researchers. The primary bioactive compounds found in ginger, known as gingerols and shogales, have been studied for their potential role in helping regulate the liver's production of glucose. In other words, they may help encourage the liver to produce only the amount of glucose your body actually needs. No more, no less. But that's far from ginger's only potential benefit. Some studies also suggest that ginger may help improve the way muscles use glucose. Imagine your muscles as enormous energy storage centers. The better they are at taking in glucose, the less sugar remains circulating in your bloodstream. There's another interesting detail as well. Many people report feeling more energetic after including ginger regularly in their diet. That may be related to its effects on healthy circulation, digestive function, and its antioxidant properties that help combat oxidative stress. On top of that, getting better quality sleep may also play an important role in maintaining healthy blood sugar levels. And good sleep is far more important than most people realize. Just a few nights of poor sleep can temporarily increase insulin resistance. Notice how everything is connected. And now comes the most interesting part. Imagine what happens when these three ingredients work together. At this point, many people start thinking, so all I have to do is mix them together? Not exactly. The real secret isn't simply combining them. It's that each spice supports a completely different part of your metabolism. Think of your body as a maintenance team. Each specialist has a different job. If only one person is working, things improve. But when everyone is doing their part at the same time, the entire system operates much more efficiently. That's exactly what's happening here. Cinnamon primarily helps your cells respond more effectively to insulin. Turmeric focuses on reducing inflammation and oxidative stress, two factors that can interfere with healthy insulin function. Ginger, meanwhile, may help regulate the liver's production of glucose while also supporting the way your muscles utilize that glucose for energy. Notice something important. These ingredients aren't competing with one another. They aren't performing the exact same job. Instead, they complement each other. That's precisely why this combination of different biological mechanisms has attracted so much interest within the scientific community. But there's one important detail that can greatly reduce the effectiveness of this entire strategy, and almost nobody pays attention to it. Choosing the right ingredients isn't enough. You also need to know when and how to use them. How to use each spice the right way. Let's start with cinnamon. If you're planning to use it regularly, Ceylon cinnamon, often called true cinnamon, is generally considered the preferred choice. About half a teaspoon per day is usually enough to include as part of a healthy diet. You can stir it in a coffee, yogurt, oatmeal, fresh fruit, or even warm milk. Now let's talk about turmeric. This is where most people make a mistake. They simply sprinkle turmeric onto their food and assume that's all they need to do. But curcumin isn't easily absorbed by the body. That's why it works much better when consumed together with a source of healthy fat, such as extra virgin olive oil, milk, or coconut oil. There's also one ingredient that's absolutely essential: a simple pinch of black pepper. Black pepper contains piperine, which dramatically increases the absorption of curcumin. Without this small but crucial step, much of turmeric's primary active compound simply passes through the body before it can be absorbed. As for ginger, it can be used either fresh or in powdered form. A few fresh slices steeped in tea, or about 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, is generally enough for everyday culinary use. Many people prefer enjoying ginger later in the evening, especially when it's included in the simple recipe I'm about to show you. But there's another mistake that's worth mentioning. None of these ingredients can make up for a diet that's loaded with sugar, soft drinks, and ultra-processed foods. They may help support healthier metabolic function, but they can't cancel out unhealthy lifestyle habits. And that's exactly why there's a smart way to combine all three of these powerful spices into one simple preparation. The best part? It takes less than 5 minutes to make. The recipe is simple, but there's one small detail that can make a big difference in the final result. If you stayed with us this far, you're probably wondering, is there an easy way to get all of these ingredients together? The answer is yes, and it's a recipe that has been enjoyed for centuries. We're talking about golden milk. Also known as turmeric milk, this traditional beverage originated in India's ancient wellness traditions. In recent years, it has attracted growing interest from researchers because it combines several ingredients that have been studied for their potential effects on inflammation, metabolism, and overall health. And the best part? It only takes a few minutes to prepare. Here's what you'll need: 200 milliliters, about 7 ounces, of milk or an unsweetened plant-based milk, 0.1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, 0.1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, preferably Ceylon cinnamon, 0.1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, or a few thin slices of fresh ginger, that a pinch of black pepper. And if you'd like to further improve curcumin absorption, add about 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil. Preparing it couldn't be easier. Simply place all of the ingredients into a small saucepan. Stir everything together thoroughly. Warm the mixture over low heat for about 3 to 5 minutes. There's no need to bring it to a boil. Simply heat it until all the ingredients are well combined. If you'd like a slightly sweeter taste, consider using a sweetener recommended by your healthcare professional instead of adding sugar. Many people enjoy drinking golden milk about an hour before bedtime, and there's a reason why. During the night, your body begins many of its natural repair and recovery processes. At the same time, your liver continues regulating the production of glucose throughout the night. While golden milk is not a treatment for diabetes, it combines ingredients that may support different aspects of metabolic function and can be included as part of a balanced, healthy eating pattern. But before you head to the kitchen to make this recipe tonight, there's one very important warning. Because natural doesn't automatically mean it's appropriate for everyone. If you're taking medication to help manage your blood sugar, this is the part you should pay close attention to. Cinnamon, turmeric, and ginger can complement a healthy lifestyle, but they should never replace medications prescribed by your healthcare provider, and they should never be used as a reason to stop your treatment. In fact, anyone taking diabetes medications should continue monitoring their blood sugar regularly whenever making significant dietary changes. Why? Because for some individuals, the combination of medication and healthier eating habits may lower blood glucose more than expected. When that happens, hypoglycemia or low blood sugar can occur. Symptoms may include shaking, cold sweats, dizziness, weakness, blurred vision, heart palpitations, or a difficulty concentrating. If you experience any of these symptoms, it's essential to follow the guidance of the healthcare professional managing your treatment. There's another important consideration. People who take blood thinners, have liver disease, gallbladder problems, a history of gallstones, or who are pregnant should speak with their physician before consuming large amounts of turmeric or ginger, particularly in supplement form. It's also worth addressing a misconception that's become very popular on social media. No single food can cure diabetes. At this time, there is no scientific evidence showing that any spice, tea, or dietary supplement can replace a balanced diet, regular physical activity, ongoing medical care, or prescription medications when they're needed. The real value of these ingredients lies in the fact that they can become part of a much larger picture, a healthy lifestyle. And it's the combination of those healthy habits that may help support better metabolic health over time. Which brings us to the most important question in today's video. After everything we've discussed, what's the biggest takeaway? For many years, people believed that controlling blood sugar simply meant avoiding sugar. Today, we know the story is much more complex. High blood glucose isn't determined only by what's on your plate. It's also influenced by how well your cells respond to insulin, by the level of chronic inflammation within your body, and by how much glucose your liver produces while you're sleeping. That's exactly why we explored these three very different ingredients. Cinnamon may help support a healthier response to insulin. Turmeric, through its active compound curcumin, may help reduce inflammatory processes and oxidative stress that can interfere with normal metabolic function. And ginger may help support healthy liver glucose regulation while also encouraging your muscles to use glucose more efficiently. On their own, each ingredient supports a different part of the process. Together, they create a much more comprehensive approach. But there's one lesson that's even more important than learning about these three spices. Knowledge will always be more valuable than the latest health trend. Whenever you hear promises of a quick cure or a miracle recipe, be skeptical. Science moves forward by carefully studying foods with responsibility, recognizing both their potential benefits and their limitations. And that's the kind of information that truly helps people make better decisions about their health. If you learned something new from today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It may seem like a small gesture, but it helps YouTube recommend this video to other people who are also searching for trustworthy, evidence-based health information. If you know someone living with diabetes, pre-diabetes, or anyone interested in learning more about healthy nutrition, share this video with them. And if you're not already part of our community, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we publish new videos based on scientific evidence, explained in a way that's simple, practical, and easy to understand. And don't leave just yet. There's another video on your screen right now that perfectly complements everything you've learned today. In it, you'll discover which foods that seem perfectly healthy may actually be raising your blood sugar without you even realizing it. Click on that video now and keep learning. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.